We are catching up with Chad Kroeger, frontman for Nickelback. And it is Kroeger, right? Because 50% of the internet says Kroeger, 50% of the internet says Kroeger. Can you confirm?
Okay, it's Kroeger.
It's Kroeger.
Don't trust the internet.
But you never have corrected anybody when they've called you Kroeger, which I always thought was weird.
I never get time because it goes, hey, well, here we are with Chad Kroeger. So how are things going? And by the time it's so far in, by the time I get to say something, I don't actually, because if I just stop and go, actually, it's Kroeger, I'm gonna look like such a. So I'm just like, well, whatever, I don't care. But I was doing an interview with this is a lot of years ago. It's been like 2004. And Jerry from Alice in Chains was on tour with us, and we were doing an interview at a radio station, and the guy said Chad Kroeger, and Jerry just goes, he like just stops the whole interview and he goes, it's Kroeger. And I sort of looked over at Jerry and I was like, and he goes, it's your name, dude.
Right.
That is your last name. Tell that dude across there how to say it properly so he stops saying it wrong into that microphone and misinforming people. That is your last name, brother. Like, and I was like, wow, you really care about this.
All right. I'm here to clarify, if you don't want to be it is Kroeger.
We could clarify it all day long and people are still going to say Kroeger just because there's a big, you guys have the big grocery chain in America.
Right. All right. We'll move on from that. All right. So it's been 5 years since Nickelback have brought a new album to us. Feed the Machine 2017 was album number 9. Album number 10 on the way. Get Rollin arrives November 18th. Exciting stuff. So I know that you had the liberty to take your time with this album and all that good stuff, but that's 5 years. So I'm curious what you're willing to share about what Chad does when he's not on tour, when he's not on a record-making deadline. Like, what kind of adventures that you're willing to share did you experience within the last 5 years, or 3 probably?
Trying to take it easy. Because this is the biggest break we've actually had, right? Because we're usually making records and touring the world and making records and touring the world and making records. So I bought a house on a lake and I go up there all the time, and it is serene. Is not even, it is just so tranquil and just fantastic waking up every day on that lake. Oh, in fact, as soon as this interview is done, I'm going to go over to the house. I'm going to pick up my father, and my girlfriend and a bunch of friends are waiting, and we are going to jump in the vehicle and we're going to drive up to the lake, get in the boat, and drive out to the house.
Love it. Enjoy that lake life while you can, because we know the tour's coming. So the album's coming. The first single's already here, right? So San Quentin. The story goes that you were at Guy Fieri's birthday party, which I love Guy Fieri. Ever since I found out he officiated 101 lesbian weddings because his deceased sister, like in honor of her, his heart is so amazing. Big fan. But back to you. So you're at his birthday party. He introduces you to a big wig at the prison. The guy's telling you stories, and somehow this sparks a song within you. Like, what is it that he said? Was he saying some like kick-ass stories? Or
well, he wasn't a big wig. He was the warden.
The warden
at San Quentin. And I didn't believe that he was the warden, because he was way too young. I'm just looking at this guy like, there's just no way you're a warden. And then everybody he was with's like, no, dude, that's the warden. I'm like, you're kidding me. And then I had that Dewey Cox moment where I'm just sort of just blank look, just sort of looking at him. And I was probably just nodding and smiling and oh yeah. But in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna write a song called San Quentin, and I can't wait to begin. And I just thought it was great, because I think we all have that. This is the way I describe it anyway. That Shawshank Redemption sort of warden in mind. This the older dude. He's a little crusty. He's mean. He's like, this guy wasn't anything like that. Like, I thought, you just expect someone, some sort of badass, just this cold, hard face, a little older, seen it all. I mean, when you're the warden of a prison, and not just any prison, but a famous prison, you've got to have some stories. But I immediately just went into songwriter mode, and I think the second I turned around, I was just started jotting down ideas in my phone.
You're like, dude, I'm not even listening to your stories.
I
In
just,
other words.
I'm just gonna sit here and smile and nod.
All right. So at the core of the song is a very unifying message that I think we can all get behind, which is, I don't want to go to prison, right? Like, we're all on that same page. I don't want to go to prison. But you did go to juvie when you were 14. So this is like a random question, but how do you think Chad would do in San Quentin in 2022, given his juvie background?
Probably not well. I would have to put some heavies on payroll as soon as I got in there. Like, dude, your mom need a new house? Huh? Your wife need a new car? It'll be there tomorrow. Swear to God. So you block the door when I shower, and don't let anybody beat me up. No, I'd probably be, I don't know. It's tricky. Half the prison probably wants to be friends with you, and the other half probably just wants to be would probably want to be renowned for, they're the ones that got to kick your ass. So
Right.
you kind of got to know that going in.
Right. All right.
I would
Universe
have to
forbid.
bulk up. I think I would be bulking up heavy if I was going in.
I think that Nickelback money would super come in handy. You're absolutely right on that. So was it music that like kind of, I don't want to say you were a delinquent, but you were in juvie.
Oh no.
Was it music that, yeah.
I was a bad kid, and like I always knew growing up, and I know this is genetic. I know this. I always just called it hot blood. Hot blooded. It's like I just always was coming up with just really dumb ideas of shit we could do to get into trouble, and I always knew that I could get out of it. But my friends, like my mom divorced my stepdad. I think I was in the 8th grade when they split up. And then, from that moment on, there's like what type of disciplinary action can my mom take again? Like I think I was already probably 6 feet in the 8th grade. Like what's she gonna do? Hit me with a wooden spoon? Like, you can't really do much. So at that point in time, I could just stay out as late as I wanted. I could do whatever I wanted. But other people would be like, my other friends, they'd be like, if I go and do what you're suggesting we do, and I get caught, my dad will beat my ass, like closed fist, like, yeah. And that fear is a good, I mean, there was so many times where I'd come up with some stupid idea, like, if we do this, we can do this. Them fearing their fathers was the thing that kept me out of trouble, because they'd be like, nah, we can't do that. Because but I just didn't have that in my life, so it was just a free-for-all. And then I missed, in the 9th grade, I missed 55 days because I just didn't want to go to school, and I didn't respect my teachers. And I'm like, I'm like, you're living in a 1-bedroom apartment, and you're like 35, and like I'm just sitting there just disseminating them in my head, going like, and I'm supposed to take life advice from you, let alone anything else. And so I just, like, there was this massive lack of respect. But the people that I did respect, I'd go to their classes because and they knew I would just not go to other some of these other classes, and I'm just like, just not gonna go. Just didn't care. And then the second I got out of school, I was, what am I think I'm 10 credits short of getting my GED. So that line in Photograph, should I go back and try to graduate? Yeah, it's all very autobiographic. But yeah, the second I was done school, like, the band, all the other guys were waiting for me. We had a different singer at the time. They just needed me. I was the lead guitar player, and I was gone. I was like, I think I was 18 and on touring. I mean, we toured for the next 2 years, just hitting every bar, some of them way up north. Some of them would hire you for like 2 weeks at a time. And it's weird, the life lessons that you acquire from just being in these situations where you're just playing to drunks, but you just wind up learning so much more about like actual life. Um, instead of, oh, I'm going to go travel Europe and then I'm going to go to college and I'm just going to, do the thing. I just had no interest in doing the thing. And I wanted to, you can go your own.
Right.
I just wanted to get out there and start touring and playing my guitar. And I remember I was making $350 a week playing the guitar every night in that band. And I'm thinking to myself, what am I going to do with all this money? Because I just thought because I just didn't need anything. All I had to do was buy food.
Speaking of lessons and playing to crowds, we're a few days shy of the 21st anniversary of Silver Side Up, Nickelback's third studio album. Yeah, it's going to turn 21 in just a few days. Obviously, so it was released September 11th, 2001, one of the darkest days in American history, and you had to perform that night. So I'm curious what you learned from taking this crowd who was obviously feeling what everybody was feeling on that day, and making it okay for them to have that release, to enjoy the concert, to not feel guilty. You don't have to be sad in this moment. You can use this as a release. What was that performance like? What were you saying to yourself? What were you saying to the crowd?
Not far off of what you just said. So we were driving through Pennsylvania, and I woke up on the bus and everyone's all crowded around, and we were all on the tour bus in those days. So I think there's like 12 of us on the bus, and I get up and I'm like, what's this fuss? What's going on? And they're like, dude, you're not going to believe what just happened. Like 2 planes just crashed into the towers in New York, and one of them hit Washington, and one of them was downed in Pennsylvania, 10 miles from where we were. So that plane had gone down right by where we were at, and we're just kept on trucking to the gig. And I'm like, there's just no possible way that this gig is going to go on. There's no way. We get there and we're opening for Three Doors Down, and they're like, nope, we're going to play. And not only did they not cancel the gig, everybody showed up. It was packed. And I was just sort of dumbfounded, but it was such a weird, eerie feeling. And we had to go up first. We were opening from those guys at the time, and I'm the first one to speak into the microphone. So I walked out there and I said almost what you said, just damn near verbatim. I said, you know what? Thank you for all coming tonight. I said, I know we're all experiencing, we're all feeling a lot right now, and we're all having a hard time processing this. But in one of the darkest moments in American history, please just let us be a form of distraction so you don't have to think about what's going on. And let's really just try to enjoy the show. And everybody just kind of went, and then we started playing. And then everybody started just sort of enjoying the show and not thinking about that. But that only goes on for so long until, as soon as the show's over, suddenly you got to get back to reality. And then that just, and our record, came out that day. And it wasn't until halfway through the day that we were all dealing with this. And it was so much. Like that was a lot. Someone goes, holy shit, our record came out today. because we'd completely forgot. And we were like, oh, there goes that. Okay, well, who cares about our record? Like it just felt like the world was coming to an end. Do you remember that? Like it just felt like, if this can happen in New York, like it felt like, like Independence Day. It just felt like an alien ship had just come over and just taken out a city. I mean, it was just, the ramifications of this were just going to go on for so long, and we all knew it. And it was just like, wow, this is a lot to deal with.
And yet you put on a show and you gave those people that release. How You Remind Me off that album became this massive mega hit for the band. And I think we were all surprised to learn when you did an interview last year. I'm sorry, I don't remember who the interview was with, but you shared that you didn't make any money off How You Remind Me. And we're all like, that song was unavoidable. It was everywhere. And you had this meeting and you thought you were rich. And then you realized no yachts for nobody. Nobody's rich here. We're still poor as dirt. So I'm curious what you did after that, immediately or as soon as possible, to make sure that the next time Nickelback had a big ass hit like How You Remind Me, that it trickled down to the actual band. And I think this is good advice for people who want to be musicians professionally.
Wait, who said that we didn't make any money off How You Remind Me?
You did.
No.
You said that in an interview.
No. Oh, what I would have said was, at that time, we hadn't made any money off of How You Remind Me. We made lots of money off of How You Remind Me. Yeah, no. And not only that, like went in and renegotiated the contract the next, I think, like over the next 4 records that we still did with Roadrunner, we just renegotiated again and again and again, just like everybody does. So yeah, no, of course we did. Oh, it might have been, and this might have not even been me who had said this in the interview. This could have been my brother Mike. This could have been Ryan maybe, but when you sign a record deal, I am so sorry, I need to stop that.
No worries.
When you sign a record deal, and our first record was The State with Roadrunner. They put $1.7 million into breaking us on the first record. That's what we owed when it was all said and done. And when you looked at the balance sheet of how many records we'd sold, any other band signed to a major would have been dropped immediately. It's like, because we would have been so heavily unrecouped. And then they gave us 5 weeks to go in, and we recorded Silver Side Up. And then we definitely had to, all the early proceeds for sure had to go back to pay off our unrecouped balance, because they are cross collateralized. The accounting statements are not individual for each one. If you take a huge loss on your first one and have a large success with a following record, each record doesn't have to pay off its own balance. The money that comes in has to pay for all of the losses. Not only that, you audit, like we audit almost, I think we've audited every single record company, and we audit them every 2 years. And as soon as you find discrepancies, then you either go to mediation, or you just threaten to sue, or whatever it is, and then you clean it up.
So we don't have dates, but we know that there is going to be a tour coming up in the summer of 2023, next summer, supporting the album Get Rollin, which arrives November 18th. So I'm actually curious, obviously you have like decades under your belt of touring. As a headliner, did you ever have a baby band that came to offer support, or maybe it was at a festival or whatever the case may be, and you spotted them and immediately you're like, this band has it, whatever it may be? What was that band that has really stood out to you in their early years and that has gone on to reach their full potential?
I thought you were going to say, have you ever had your ass kicked on stage by an opening act?
Well, maybe that's what caught your attention.
So way back in the day, and I remember the first time we opened up for them, it was in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We opened up for Seven Dust, and they are so good. And then another band showed up on that very small run back then, really early on. And this guy came out and they wheeled him out in like a hockey mask and a straight jacket. And it was Draymond from Disturbed. And they were in the second slot. So it was us and then Disturbed and then Seven Dust. And then after we had, gained the success of everything that went on with Silver Side Up, there was a few dates where Seven Dust opened for us. Now, I don't care how many records you've sold or how many awards you've won or what you've done around the world. You don't ever, ever, ever want to go after Seven Dust, because they will kick your ass and wipe you all over that stage. They are a force to be reckoned with, and it is like goosebump worthy. There is so much power coming off that stage. It is incredible. They're a juggernaut. So yes, we've had our ass kicked out, but our mentality always was, back in the day, was always like, we need to outplay. We need to get the crowd more into us than anybody that follows us. And so we would just, I would just use every trick in the book, like anything to get the crowd going, to terrify anybody who was coming after us, because they're going to be standing there like, if we got off stage, they're going to be like, okay, so what are you going to do now? They're going to have to bring something, because when you don't have hits to lean on, you've got nothing, but it's just your stage performance. That's it. It's all you've got. And, winning over crowds back in the day, like I miss it. I miss those days, because I was always like, I always thought of myself as like, I would sit back there, because I thought of that I had to lead the boys into war and they had to trust me. Like, so anything that happens up there, just go with it kind of thing. Right. Because we've got to get this crowd on our side. We've got to get this crowd on our side quickly, and we've got to keep them. You can't lose the crowd. And once you've got them, we'll just ride it all the way out to the end and say goodnight. That mindset will take you so far. And I think that a lot of artists that get signed out of their bedrooms, they're suddenly thrust onto a lot of these radio shows and these festivals, are missing a lot of that. And you can tell those seasoned bands that get out there, and it's like, you just watch them. It's like, oh, you guys have been doing this a long time, and you know how to get a crowd, and you know how to get them going. And I love that. Not only that, but like, I love when somebody's uncomfortable on stage, the crowd can feel it.
Yeah.
You can feel it in your stomach, and it feels weird. There's this strange awkwardness that's just like, I don't really love what's happening here, but this is kind of like a car crash and I can't stop watching it. And it's the same in reverse. It's, when I went and saw Billy Joel a couple years ago, that is like hanging out in someone's living room. It's so comfortable. And it's just the way he speaks to, some guy will yell something and he'll yell something back at him. And, it's just this, you're just so put at ease that at that point in time, all you have to do is just enjoy the music. That's it. And I feel like I've done a lot of mushrooms in my life, and I'm sensitive to that. Because you can feel, like mushrooms are like an amplifier for that feeling, right? Where you're like, oh, this is uncomfortable, and your antenna for that. It helps you when you're writing music too, when you're really in tune with that little invisible antenna. When you allow the utmost honesty when you're writing music or listening to music that someone else is playing for you, you need to really pay attention to it. And we had this manager from from Chicago way back in the days. This guy named Clyde. And Clyde would always talk about this little antenna. It's like, oh, I got it. Anytime he'd hear us do something that he thought was good. And it took me a while to be able to, one, identify it, and two, just refer to it as that. But it will serve you, when you, because I always find too, if I'm writing something because I have to write it in case there's a deadline, and I know I'm onto something that's good, but not great, I might be able to bullshit myself into going with it. But as soon as you get high and listen to it, your bullshit meter is elevated so drastically. Then you sit back and listen to it and go, did I really think that I was going to get past, that this one was going to get past me? Because when you can sit back subjectively and listen to it with the utmost honesty, and there's another thing that I refer to as shame. It's like if you're playing this for someone and it gets to a bridge or a breakdown part or something like that, or whatever it is, any part where you feel just a little bit of shame, as opposed to, oh, I can't wait for the next part to come because I can't wait till they hear this. When it gets there and you're kind of like, this could be better, you need to change it immediately. Because if you're feeling that, the audience is going to feel that when they hear it, So, and at that point in time, you're just putting lipstick on a pig. So you have to follow that antenna. You've got to follow that honesty and let it guide you to things that are great. Mutt Lang said that to me once. He said, Chad, no matter what you do, it'll always be good. He's like, you're always going to do something that's good. He's like, but but focus on the things that are great. And that will take you places that you have never been before.
I love the honesty in that answer. Thank you for it. This will be our last question.
Did you realize that you didn't even ask me a question and I just went, I just started fucking.
That's the best kind of answer though. Like, you know what I mean? That's when it just naturally goes there. That's the best kind of answer. We'll end on a question about Get Rollin, the upcoming album. So like, I know you already said that there's something in there for every mood, which is pretty much standard for Nickelback. Started with the heavy track, which silenced all those people who are going to be wanting the heavy. So that was amazing. I won't ask about the sound, but what makes you most proud about this group of songs? Like what gets you excited about these songs?
We put a lot of time and effort into them. There's a left turn on the record that I'm very interested to hear, because there's a lot of Nickelback songs on this record, and when I mean that, I mean quintessential Nickelback songs. I mean, they are what you would expect from us. They just happen to be the newest version of. But there's a couple left turns, and I'm really interested to hear the reaction that our fans will have when they hear a song called Tidal Wave, because it truly is a departure for us. And it's really, really catchy, and it sticks in my head, which I love. Those are I'm just such a melody whore. I love that, because along with the antenna comes the goosebumps. And when you get something that's goosebump worthy, you can't wait to show it to the world. So that's definitely something I'm looking forward to.
Excellent. I just want to wrap real quick on this story. I don't know if I ever talked to you about this. We've spoken a few times. I don't know that we have, but when you were in New York City one time, you went to a steakhouse. I used to go to that steakhouse all the time when I lived there. So I feel like you could really tell someone's character by how they treat people who can't do anything for them. And the bartender he knows what I do. He knows me. I was a regular at that point. He's like, you know who came in here? Chad. And he was so excited to tell me about you going in there and how down to earth you were and how cool you were and how you even invited him to come hang out with you and the group of people you were with. And this is like a 70-year-old man. And he's like, man, he's the best. Like he was so blown away by your behavior. And I think that really speaks to your character. And I just wanted to share that
Oh.
story for no apparent reason.
Well, that is very nice of him to say
Yeah.
that. It's very kind, and it's also kind of you to reiterate that story to me. That makes my day. You do see a lot of things on the. I do, you know. Sometimes they hit your phone in the morning. It's like celebrities that have done, you know, that have treated baristas like, you know, garbage, stuff like that, and I'm always worried, like, if I'm having a bad day and I go in and I'm in a hurry and I just, you know, I wonder if I'm always worried I'm going to make make that list or something. But it's nice to know that hopefully I stand a chance of making you know, the other list.
Get Rollin, November 18th. Looking forward to listening to the entire album. And thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.